Okay, I'm doing section 6.2, and this is on page 274. And the instructions for this section is to prove the following identities. So essentially, show that this is equal to this. So the first thing I've done is just drawn a dotted line to remind us that you cannot cross the line. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is, it looks like both sides are going to have to be worked with. So I'm going to work with this side first because there's less work to do, and then we'll go on to the other side. So the first thing I'm going to do to simplify this side is just make everything in terms of sine and cos. So cotan is same as saying cos x over sine x. This is times cosecant, which is the inverse of sine, so 1 over sine x. Okay, and now we're multiplying, so 1 times cos x is just cos x all over sine x times sine x, sine squared x. Okay, so that's the most simplified version. So I'm just going to write it down here to remind us that's what we want to get to. Cos x over sine squared x. So now we're trying to make this side look like this. So the first thing I need to do, just like the right side, is make everything in terms of sine and cos. So cosecant, again, is just 1 over sine x plus cotan, which is cos x over sine x. Okay, and now that is all over tan, which is the same as sine x over cos x and sine, which has a denominator of 1, if that helps visualize. So the next thing we're going to do is add them up, but we need a common denominator, obviously. So this top one, the common denominator is sine x, so we're able just to add it. Down here we have to do a little bit of work because the denominator here is cos x, so what we're going to do is just multiply this. Do this in a different color. Multiply it by cos x over cos x. So we're not changing it because we're multiplying by 1, but we're using cos so that we can have a denominator of cos. So now if we just add it up, starting with the top is going to be 1 plus cos x over sine x, and then that is all over, so that is all over sine x, sine x plus sine x cos x all over cos x. Okay, so before we move on, just to make this the most simplified we can, I'm going to factor out a sine from this. So sine x plus sine x cos x, we can factor out a sine so that the denominator now is just, so now that is equal to just sine x, and now since we factored it out, 1 plus cos x all over cos x. And I'm going to rewrite the numerator just organized so we have it all together. So it might be hard to visualize that these two are actually going to cross out, cancel each other out. So what I'm going to do is just flip this up into multiplication so that we can see that they are in fact going to cancel out. So I'm just keeping the numerator the way it is. So 1 plus cos x over sine x. Now I'm multiplying it by the inverse of the denominator. So now cos x comes to the top, cos x all over sine x 1 plus cos, because we factored out a sine. So now it's easier to see that these two are going to cancel out. So we can just cancel that out. So cross it out, cross it out. So now we're multiplying, and we're left with cos x, because that's the only numerator, it's multiplying by 1. So cos x over sine x times sine x, which is the same, which is equal to sine squared x. So now, as you can see, this side is equal to this side. So, since they are equal, we have proved this question. Okay, thanks for watching.